One of the important concepts in CSS you need to understand is the concept of inheritance, which means some CSS properties by default inherit values from their parent. Let's go through a few examples. So I'm going to define a paragraph with some dummy text. Now let's wrap this word inside a strong element. So we bring up the command palette, search for wrap, and then type strong. So here's what we get. Now, here in our style sheet, let's define a rule for paragraph elements and set their color to Dodger blue. Take a look. So our strong element is blue, even though we didn't explicitly set its color. This is inheritance in action. So the strong element is currently a child of the paragraph element, and it has inherited the color property. Let's verify it. So we right-click on this element and go to inspect. Now look over here. These are the properties inherited from the paragraph element, in this case, color. So with inheritance, we didn't have to come here and set the color property on the strong element. So inheritance helps us write less code. But what if in this particular case, we want to stop the inheritance? What if we don't want to inherit this value? Well, we set the value to initial. This sets the color property to its default value, which is black. So here's what we get. Now let's look at the property that does not get inherited. So here in the paragraph, let's set the border to 1 pixel, solid, black. Take a look. So we have a border around our paragraph, but there's no border around the strong element because it doesn't make sense to define a border on a parent element and then every child inherits that border. It doesn't make sense. But what if we want to force the inheritance here? Well, here in the rule for the strong element, we set border to inherit. Now we're explicitly saying that we want to inherit the border property. So here's the result. We have an extra border around the strong element. So this is inheritance in action. But what properties are inherited? Well, there's a long list, and quite frankly, you don't have to memorize it. Most people don't know it. Most of the time, as you build more web pages or as you go through the course, you will get familiar with these properties. But generally speaking, the properties that are about typography are the ones that are inherited. So properties that change the font size, the vertical space between lines, the alignment of text, the color of the text, these are the properties that get inherited.